Explainer. All right, so if you're about to kick off a new SAP S/4HANA Cloud Private Edition project, you know one of the first big hurdles is just getting the thing configured. Well, today, we're going to demystify that whole process for you.
So whether you're a project manager, a consultant, or an analyst, you know that initial setup can feel, well, just huge. There are so many moving parts, and you know that getting that foundation right is absolutely everything.
So what we're going to do here is build a really clear mental model of how this all works. By the end of this, you'll know exactly what's coming, and more importantly, how to get your team ready for it. Okay, let's dive right in. You know, the biggest challenge isn't starting from scratch. Actually, it's kind of the opposite. The real puzzle is figuring out how to correctly use the incredibly powerful foundation that SAP gives you right out of the box.
Think of it like building a house, right? You're not out there chopping down trees and milling the lumber yourself. You're starting with a high-quality, prefabricated kit. SAP gives you this tested, reliable framework, and they call it best practices. So let's take a look at the pieces that actually make up this kit.
Okay, so at the very top, the highest level, you've got what's called the solution. You can think of this as the entire package, the complete set of blueprints and all the predefined processes for your whole system. Then, inside that solution, you have scenarios. Now, a scenario is a complete end-to-end business process for a specific part of your company. You know, like your core finance operations or the whole sales order-to-cash cycle. And what a scenario is made of? Well, they're made of building blocks. And you really want to pay attention here because this is the most fundamental level. These are the smallest, reusable pieces where the actual nitty-gritty technical configuration settings live. This is where the magic really happens. So, how do you get your hands on all this? How do you manage this whole toolkit? Well, you use a central tool called the SAP Best Practices Solution Builder. This is basically your command center for looking at, scoping, and activating all these components right inside the system. Okay, so you've got this powerful toolkit, right? You've got solutions, scenarios, and building blocks. But how do you actually turn all that blueprint, into a live working system? Well, that happens through a really specific activation process. And this process is super methodical. It's designed for safety and consistency. So first, you activate the best practices in your development system. Then you bundle up all those settings into what are called transports. You can think of them like digital shipping containers. And finally, you deploy those containers to your quality system and then onto production. And listen, here's the absolute key takeaway on this. This activation, it's a one-time thing. It happens only in your development environment. Everything after that is just a controlled move of those settings through your landscape. You are never ever reactivating from scratch in your other systems. All right, now for the question everybody asks. SAP's processes are great, but hey, every company is unique, right? So how do you adapt these standard blueprints to fit your specific business needs? Okay, this next part is the single most important rule of customizing. If you forget everything else, remember this. We're going to call it the golden rule. Always, always make a copy of a standard process before you start changing it. Never ever edit the original. And this right here shows you exactly why that rule is so critical for the long-term health of your system. Look, when you edit the original, you snap its link to SAP. That means no more updates, no more enhancements from them. It just becomes this maintenance nightmare that's going to cost you a fortune over time. But if you edit a copy, you protect the original. That means it keeps getting all of SAP's future innovations. Honestly, this is the secret to keeping your system modern and your long-term costs way down. And of course, you've got to document all this work. It's critical. For this, SAP gives you its process modeling suite, Synavio. Standard processes, they're already documented in the SAP Synavio Process Navigator. But for your own custom stuff, you'll use the SAP Synavio Process Manager to map everything out and keep track of exactly how it all works. Okay, this next part often causes a lot of confusion on new projects, so let's get crystal clear on who is responsible for what. This lays it out perfectly. As part of their standard service, SAP handles that initial technical activation of the best practices you decided on in your workshops. But what about all the detailed customer-specific configuration? What about all the customizing you need to do to meet your unique requirements? Well, that's where your implementation partner comes in. That's their job. So you see, it creates a really clear partnership. SAP lays the technical foundation based on your decisions, and then your partner helps you build your unique business on top of that solid standard base. It's a great division of labor. So, by following this structured approach,
you're making sure your new S/4HANA system has a solid, upgrade-safe foundation. And that frees up your team to focus on what really matters, tailoring the solution to drive real, tangible business value. So, you'd